Good morning, everyone, and welcome to District 106 Judges Training. We're going to get started here. We are recording this session. If you have questions, you can enter them in the chat, or if we pause, you can unmute yourself, and we will take your questions. Our presenter today is past District Governor, Distinguished Toastmaster Stephen Shaner, and he is our District 106 Chief Judge. He's going to conduct the judges training. I'm looking forward to this presentation. Stephen, take us away.
All right, thanks, Dave. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. As Dave said, I have the honor of being a Chief Judge for the district this year. So I'm looking forward to serving in that capacity. I may be reaching out to some of you to serve in some form of judging capacity as well, but thanks for being here this morning. Appreciate that. First thing I would like to do is share my screen. Did that take?
Not yet, Stephen. There it is.
Okay, there it is. So I'm at the District 106 webpage, and right on the home page, I'm hoping you guys haven't moved it. If you scroll down, there's a link called Speech Contests. And if you click on that, this has pretty much everything you need from a resource standpoint to conduct a speech contest. A little information about why they're important, what speech contests, evaluation, international speech is what we're focusing on this spring. And then there's all kinds of things that you can click on. There's the contest rule book, international speech contest kit. So there's the ballots, there's the ballot counting forms, there's timers forms, everything you need to run a contest you can find out here on this page. So Dave, thanks so much for putting all of this out here for us. This really makes our life a lot easier as judges as we go through contest season. So I appreciate that. To show this, we have certification now for judges in the last couple of years. And all of us judges need to meet certain requirements at different levels to be a judge. And we will be required to fill out one of these judges certification of eligibility and the code of ethics form. So eligibility, I just want to go through these real quick. To be a chief judge, voting judge, or typewriting judge at a Toastmasters speech contest, you must meet all eligibility requirements identified below. At the club, you must be a paid member. So if you're a paid member of your club, you can be a judge or chief judge or any of those. At an area, division, or district contest, you must be a paid member for a minimum of 6 months and have completed a minimum of 6 speech projects in the competent communication manual or have earned a certificate of completion levels 1 and 2 of any path in the Toastmasters Pathways learning experience. So that's for area, division, and district contests. I won't talk about region, quarterfinal, semifinal, and world championship. That's over and above what we're going to be doing here. I do want to talk about the judges code of ethics. And as I go through these, keep in mind one thing: when you're judging a contest and you're judging a particular contestant, you must judge them on that presentation, not on a presentation they gave a year ago or a speech that they gave at your club, or something like that. It must be that presentation. Even if you've heard the speech before, it doesn't matter. It must be that presentation. So keep that in mind. So the Judges Code of Ethics, I will demonstrate the utmost objectivity. I will consciously avoid bias of any kind in selecting first, second, and third place contestants. I will not consider any contestants' club, area, division, or district affiliation, nor will I consider any contestants' age, sex, race, creed, national origin, disability, profession, or political beliefs. Remember, our goal is to send the best speaker to the next level because they will be representing us. So that's what we want to do. Number 2, I will not time the speeches and will not consider the possibility of under time or overtime when judging a contestant's speech. You do not worry about time. You judge the speech on its merits. The timers will take care of the rest. Number 3, I will support by word and deed the contest rules and judging standards, refrain from public criticism of the contest, and only reveal my participation as a judge, score, or ranking in accordance with the speech contest rules. Okay, so we don't talk about the contest. Number 4, I am not a member of the same club as any contestant when judging at the division, district, semifinals, and international levels. And 5, I have no conflict of interest with any of the contestants that would cause me to be biased. And then I certify eligible to serve as a judge under the current speech contest rules will uphold the Judges Code of Ethics. Sign it in. So if you're going to judge, you'll be seeing this form, and remember, that's our job, is to not be biased, but judge, those speeches on that day, and to judge those fairly. So thank you for doing that. Let's see. Let's look at the contest rulebook. I started going through some of this stuff. Some of it we've already kind of covered, but if you're going to be a judge, I suggest you download a copy of this. You can get it off of that page that I showed you on the District 106 webpage. So this is 5 general procedure. At each level of a Toastmaster speech contest, a specified number of voting judges and officials are required. Number 1, at club contests, a contest chair, chief judge, at least 5 voting judges, a tie-breaking judge, 3 counters, and 2 timers are appointed unless impractical. At area contests, there should be an equal number of voting judges from each club in the area, or a minimum of 5 voting judges. In addition to these voting judges, a contest chair, chief judge, tie-breaking judge, 3 counters, and 2 timers shall be appointed. Division contests, there should be an equal number of voting judges from each area in the division, or a minimum of 7 voting judges. In addition to these voting judges, a contest chair, chief judge, tie-breaking judge, 3 counters, and 2 timers shall be appointed. No chief judge, voting judge, or tie-breaking judge shall be a member of any club in which a contestant is a member. And then at the district contest, there should be an equal number of voting judges from each division in the district, or a minimum of 7 voting judges. In addition to these voting judges, a contest chair, chief judge, tie-breaking judge, 3 counters, and 2 timers shall be appointed. No chief judge, voting judge, or tie-breaking judge shall be a member of any club in which a contestant is a member. And then I'm going to skip the rest of these. Voting judges at all levels shall remain anonymous when practical. The contest chair may appoint a contest Toastmaster to perform any of the chair's duties. In such cases, the term contest Toastmaster should be considered synonymous with contest chair. Contest Toastmaster is also ineligible to compete in the contest in which they are serving. Contestants are briefed. Judges will be briefed prior to. So before the contest, voting judges, counters, timers are briefed on their duties by the chief judge. Each voting judge receives the appropriate ballot for the contest. So we're going to be doing the international speech contest. You'll receive a ballot for that, and an evaluation contest. You'll receive a ballot for that. Timers will receive their time record sheet. Ballot counters receive the counters tally sheet. If you're doing, when you're doing tie-breaking judges, I should say, before each contest, the chief judge selects a member to act as a tie-breaking judge. The identity of the tie-breaking judge is secret and known only to the chief judge. The tie-breaking judge does not attend the judge's briefing. The chief judge shall provide the tie-breaking judge's guide and ballot to the tie-breaking judge before the beginning of the contest. Okay, when you're turning in your ballot, you just turn in the bottom part of the ballot and must contain all contestants ranked in order. Okay, and the tie-breaking judge does all the speakers. Regular judges just do first, second, and third. The top portion of the ballot is not provided to the chief judge and must be discreetly discarded by the tie-breaking judge after counting. So that's all tie-breaker judge stuff. Counters tally. Okay, so I think we know most of this. There hasn't been too many changes. So any questions on anything so far?
Yes, actually, I do.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure. Yes. So I'd been looking at the division contest rules for judges, and I thought it was awfully interesting that it says that anybody who is serving as a judge can't be a member of any club in which any participant or any contestant is a member. Mm-hmm. So does that mean, for example, it would be highly likely that any area director cannot serve as a judge of any kind?
Only if one of the contestants is a member of the club that they belong to.
Which I find to be kind of reasonably high, in the sense that you're going to have 2 from that area, and odds are there'll be at least in one club. So I feel like it's a little bit hamstrung, but I just wanted to clarify.
Vince,
yeah, that's the only reason.
You're only going to have 1 contestant per area.
Well, 1 speech and then 1 evaluation. It could be obviously more than likely different people.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the only restriction. If they are a member of a club in which a contestant is a member, they cannot be a judge or a chief judge or a tie-breaking judge.
Yeah, it's 9 roles, so it's kind of difficult. And for example, let's say because of that restriction, maybe you get 1 member from 5 areas, and then let's say you have another 6th or 7th area. So can you have 2 people? Let's say now you have 3 judges from 1 area and then 1 from the other 4.
You want an equal number from each area, okay? And that may not get you the 7. And again, it says where practical. Okay, so,
I would definitely at a division level, it would be pretty easy with just 7 judges.
Yep.
My only issue is, what if I'm getting 1 for 4 areas, and then I get 3 random people, or 3 people mixed from the other areas, that kind of thing.
Sure. And we struggle with this up in this area because we have such a hard time getting people to attend the contests. We really struggled to come up with the required number of judges. Now for our division contest, we do get some district leaders come up, so that helps out because we're able to get them. But you need to do what's practical. But if you're polling from each area or for each club, you need to have an equal number represented. So you don't want to have 3 judges from 1 area and 2 judges from another and 1 from a third. You want to have an equal number from each of those areas. Does that help? Probably not.
Yep, just wanted to clarify.
Sure. It's one of those things you really got to play it by ear each time. So any other questions before I move on? All right, I'd like to go through a ballot. So let me start up here at the top. Okay, so this is the International Speech Contest ballot. Okay, so this is what it looks like. We can have up to 10 speakers on 1 ballot. Fortunately, at the district level, we'll only have 5 this year. And we're looking for specific content, okay, or specific criteria for each speech. So content is worth 50 points, delivery worth 30, and language worth 20. So under the content, they're looking for speech development, structure, organization, support material, and that's worth, 20 points. So if they are excellent, 20, very good, somewhere in the 14 to 19 range, good, 9 to 13 range, fair, 0 to 8. Then we go to effectiveness is worth 15 points. Speech value is worth 15 points. Then we get into the delivery, their physical, their appearance, body language, that kind of stuff is worth 10. Voice, 10. Manner is worth 10. And again, it's broken down whether it's excellent, very good, good. And then finally is language, the appropriateness of the language, speech purpose and the audience, purpose of the speech, and the correctness, grammar, pronunciation, word selection, etc. And those are 10 each. On the back of your ballot, it defines in further detail those 3 areas, or those areas that we're judging for. So your speech development, it tells you what you're looking for. The effectiveness, what you're looking for. Speech value, what you're looking for. Delivery, the 30% is physical, voice, and manner. Language, 20% appropriate and correct. And then once again, they give you your judge's code of ethics. So when you get your ballot, the first thing you want to do is put in your speakers. Once you know the speaking order, put your first speaker over here in the right column, then speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 4, and then speaker 5. And then you want to sign your name and print your name. And please make these legible. Quite often we get ballots, we can't read the person's writing, we don't know who the judge is, and we might have questions for a specific judge. And if we don't know that, what happens is we throw the ballot out. So we want your ballots to count. So make sure you write in a way that we can read who is who. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So put in your speakers, their names, and then sign and print your name. So then we go into the speech contest, and speaker 1 comes up, and you're going to rate them in all these different categories. Speech development, maybe a 17, effectiveness 12, et cetera, all the way down. And then you total that. Okay, so you're done with speaker 1. Then what you do is you fold over this column so that you cannot see it. So it'll look like this. I just taken the piece of paper and I folded it over. So now I'm ready for speaker 2. And I don't want to be influenced by what I put under speaker 1. We're not comparing, we are judging each individual speech on its merits. So now I can rate speaker 2, not looking at what I gave speaker 1. Okay, we folded the page over. And I go through and okay, and I gave them 14, a 10, a 12, 10, 5, 5, 5, 3 on down, and that came to a 62. Once again, I fold that column over so it's hidden, and we go on to speaker 3, and I cannot see the scores from the previous 2 speakers. So we do that for every speaker, and we finally end up with our scores for all, in this case, I'm saying 5 speakers. So this is what we ended up with here. So it's very apparent that speaker 3 got a 92. They were the best of the bunch. Okay, so I would write speaker 3 here, okay, as the first place. But then notice I've got 2 people tied at 80. Okay, it is up to us to decide who is first, second, and third. This whole grid thing up here is a tool. Okay, it's still up to us to decide who is the best speaker, the second best, and the third best. What I did in this case is I took a look, they're both 80. So I went up and I looked at the criteria that was worth the most, so the content, and I compared their scores just for these 3. Okay, and when I did that, it looked like speaker 4 came up with a little higher number than speaker 1 did. So based on that, I made speaker 4 second place and speaker 1 first place. But again, it's up to you how you decide if you're going to have, if you end up with 5 people with the same score, you need to decide for second and third. That's what we're there for. And then when you're done, the only thing you turn in is the bottom part of that sheet with your first, second, and third place speakers.
Stephen.
Yep.
Just a point of clarity here. Instead of speaker 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'll actually have the names.
You'll actually have the names, yes. Thank you, Dave. So
otherwise,
yep,
it'll be confusing for your judges.
And again, up here, you're going to write the names up here too. When you learn the speaking order, write the speakers' names up here. So any questions on how to use a ballot? And again, we don't want to, do speaker 1, then sit there and speaker 2 go, okay, I gave speaker 1 a 17. I'm going to give this speaker, a 14. We don't want to compare. We want to judge each one individually.
Are we allowed to tell our speakers, our clubs, what the judges are going to be looking for in the speech contests?
As far as the criteria on the ballot?
Right, they list.
Yeah, they should
tell them what they're looking for in speech development, effectiveness, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, the ballots are not secret. They can go download those ballots even from TI or from the District 106 site, and they can look at the ballots and see what the criteria are.
Okay.
In fact, I would recommend they do that. But
okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? All right, anything else you need to want to add, Dave? We finished kind of quick here, but
yeah, we reviewed through the standard judges ballot. The tiebreakers ballot looks the same, except that instead of just ranking the top 3, you have to rank every speaker in order. Now, if you're serving as a chief judge, the tiebreakers ballot is never opened unless there's a tie. So if you are a tiebreaker ballot, hopefully your contest or your contest chair has marked your envelope with something to indicate that you are the tiebreaker. If they haven't, just put TB on the corner of your ballot or envelope so that the chief judge knows to set that one aside. And actually, the chief judge is the only one who will come and pick it up. They should do that anyway for you.
Yep. Yeah, the chief judge will pick that up from you, whoever the tiebreaker is. And the tiebreaker ballot is only to be used between people that tied. So if there are, like on this case, a clear-cut first place, but these 2 are tied, if that's the way it comes out on the counters ballot, okay, 2 people are tied for second, you would go to the tiebreakers and look at just those two people, determine who's second and who's third.
Right.
So we don't look at who the tiebreaker said was first place or any of that.
Right. The tiebreaker doesn't get a vote in anything except ties. Right.
And then again, the bottom, you won't just see first place, second place, and third place. You'll see first place through 10th place.
Right.
The tiebreaker judge must rank all of the contestants. If there's 10, all 10 of them. If there's 5, 5 of them, whatever there is.
Mary Kay had asked a question about, do we let the speakers know what the criteria is? And you answered absolutely correctly, but that is not ever a conversation between the judge and a speaker at the contest. Right. So I think you covered this, if you're judging a contest and we say the judges should be anonymous, but if people are looking around and noticing who's making notes and handing in ballots, they'll figure out who the judges are. So that can happen. But if somebody comes up to you after a contest, we just don't discuss, and the conversation should never happen where a judge says, well, I voted for you.
Right.
So, we've got to make sure that if someone comes up and asks, how you judge the contest, it's the correct answer is always, I can't discuss that. And your chief judge should go through that a little bit.
Yep.
Do we have anyone on the call who is planning on serving as a chief judge? Because we could talk a little bit about that role too.
Probably. I'm definitely leaving myself available to that for my area directors. But I did want to have one quick question.
Sure.
About the tie-breaking judge. I noticed in the rule book that it said something like that a tie-breaking judge should only be known to the chief judge, and that they should be discussing with them before the contest. That sounds to me like they're saying that the chief judge should be picking a tie-breaking judge. Because what would I do if I'm the contest chair? Do I give them a pool of people from which to choose, or do they find and seek them out themselves so that no one knows but them?
As chief judge for the district, I feel it's my responsibility to find all of my judges and determine who my chief judge is going to be. So I think you can at every level.
Yeah. So as there's a couple of questions there, Vince, and if you're the way the rule book reads is the chief judge picks a tie-breaking judge. And that's if you take the strict interpretation. I know that in past years, especially if you're helping out your area directors or if you've got a chief judge that might not have all of the context that you do, you've got to be careful about the equal representation across. But I know that I have been part of a contest where we had identified 10 people that could serve as judges, and then when we finished, maybe one of them or two of them were done, and the chief judge picked one of them to be a tiebreaker and met with them beforehand. The judges don't know who the other judges are until they show up at the judge's briefing. But I'm going to defer back to the district chief judge because you've been.
Yeah, I know I've gone to contests, especially at the area level, where I don't even know who's going to be there, who's going to show up. I have tried to find a tie-breaking judge ahead of time, but that may not always be possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it may not happen until you actually get to the contest. But at some point, you need to pull that person aside and give them their ballot in secret. Give them a short briefing. Here's what I'm looking for. And let them know what they're expected to do.
Yeah.
Does that help?
That helps. Back to Dave's.
Yep, a little bit.
Okay.
I am planning to be a chief judge. So.
All right. So again, at the district level, I've got time here where I'm going to be able to select my judges and select my tie-breaking judge in advance, and then hope that was a sad thing to say, none of their club members make it. I won't hope that. I hope everybody makes it, but I may have to change a few. Let's put it that way. But at some point, I will have a briefing alone with that tie-breaking judge. Probably in my hotel room at the conference or something. But
yeah.
So. Protests. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
I would say for the division contests, especially, plan ahead.
Yes.
We need to, and Vince, we still need your info for your division contest, but I expect that the division directors are attending all of their area contests. They collect the notification of contest winner results, so they know who the contestants are early and what clubs are in, and then they can choose their judges wisely. And that's really, at the division level, it has always been the requirement that you can't have judges who are in clubs with contestants. So you've got to choose those judges wisely, and it's hectic enough on contest day. So for division judges, make sure that you're going to the contests, and when you find out who's going on, if you've got someone that you were targeting as a judge, and they're in a club with that person, find another replacement for it. And I would always recommend recruiting some extra judges just in case something happens and a judge doesn't show up.
That's a good idea.
As an area director, I was filling judge roles as people were coming through the door.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
That's not a good way to do it at the division level, and
No.
I'm gonna recommend that you change that strategy.
I will change that strategy, but I can't control who decides to show up.
Yep, no doubt. So do the best you can with what you have. That's really the message. And in every one of those cases, we're practical. So do the best you can with but follow the rules. So. All right, let's talk about protests. Only a contestant or a judge can file a protest against the speaker. Usually they have to do with content. Somebody, basically plagiarizing somebody else's material. I remember going to it was a Tall Tales contest one year, and the speech, I don't remember the title, but it was a very unique title, very long, very unique. And the speech was pretty interesting. They didn't place, but the following Monday, the district governor sent me an email with a link, and I went to this link on the website, and it was verbatim the speech that we heard this person give, including the title. But nobody knew that at the contest, and unfortunately the person didn't place. But so that's where we hear protests. I've been involved in a couple of them, and what happens if there's a protest and somebody thinks, that's not their material, they're doing somebody else's material or something like that. As chief judge, I would, along with the district trio representative, whoever that might be, probably you, Dave, we would pull that contestant into a room and say, somebody said this. And depending on their answer, we will probably end up pulling in all of the judges. So all of the judges we pulled in, we will have a discussion, and then the judges will vote whether to disqualify or let it go. So it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. But again, only judges and contestants can file a protest. So any questions on protests or anything we've covered, or is there anything else you would like to know about from a judging standpoint? Lots of crickets. No, it can't be crickets. It's too cold out there.
One thing I'd like to recommend, and Stephen, I'm so glad that you said it right up at the beginning. You're judging the speech that you're hearing that day. and your ballot is your guide for what is important on that speech. You're not judging, and this happens in the international contest. You're not judging whether the speech made you cry, made you sad, made you, like, that's not a criteria. Tears are not a criteria. I hear a lot of people say that the international speech contest is an inspirational speech. Doesn't say that anywhere in the rule book. It is not that way. So you are judging what you hear. You judge the speech development. You judge the criteria that's on the ballot. I don't have the ballot in front of me, but you judge what's on there. I've been at contests where there is a really sad story, and the rest of the speech was a train wreck, and it breaks my heart to see that person place ahead of someone who maybe just had not a story that, like, nobody died. That's not a requirement for a speech, but they did excellent delivery, excellent speech development, and language, and the whole bit. So judge based on what the criteria is, not on, well, how it made you feel is part of the criteria, but it's got its weight. So give it its appropriate weight. If it was really well delivered and it made you emotional, well, that carries some weight, but it doesn't carry all of the weight.
Right. I was at a Central Division speech contest one time, a humorous speech contest, and one of the contestants, I don't think I ever laughed that hard in my life. The tears were just rolling down my cheeks. I was laughing so hard. But it wasn't a speech. There was no introduction, no body. There was no message. It was just basically a stand-up comedy routine. So the person did not meet the criteria of a humorous speech. So, but boy, was he funny. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
We go back to protests and just make sure we emphasize the two reasons that somebody can protest. You talked about originality, and it's also eligibility. Beyond that, there's no protest allowed.
Yeah, pretty much. And eligibility will be handled before the contest. So,
yeah. And also, I know it was said only judges or the judges or the contest chair, or no, it's judges or the contestants. Sorry, I knew I said it wrong as soon as it came out. Can file a protest. So you can't have an audience member come and file a protest on your.
And they've tried.
Yeah, there inevitably will be someone who will try to protest.
Yeah. All right. Well, have fun with your contest. That's really the main message too. Is just have fun with them. We got a lot of people work hard for these things, and let's be fair, and make sure that the best people move forward to represent our clubs, represent our areas, represent our division, and represent our district. That's the goal. But have fun, go forth, and do great things. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, you bet. If you've got additional questions after this, feel free to reach out to myself. If you've got questions on rules and the rule book, I'm going to defer you to our district chief judge, Steve Shaner. So,
and again, you can forward any questions to me as well. So,
okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Coming. And thank you, Stephen, for presenting.
Happy to.